I'm Chris Williams from Cyclone Fanatic and a proud Iowa State graduate from the class of 2007. No one shows up like Iowa State fans. And Cyclones support Cyclones on and off the field. Your gift can provide scholarships to students, fund groundbreaking research. We could even drum up opportunities for the marching band. Visit MoveWhatMatters.com to learn how you can make an impact today.
Everyone, welcome back to the Cyclone Fanatic pregame show. I'm your host, Leah Nelson. We have a jam-packed day full of Cyclone basketball, and we're super excited. Chris and I will be talking about Iowa State men's basketball taking on Texas Tech today, right at 1 p.m. But before we get started and getting into that, let's thank our sponsors. Starting off with our title sponsor, Channel Seed. They have been an amazing sponsor for us for both men's and women's basketball shows. They are great people and even greater Iowa State fans. So pretty incredible to have them on board, and our friends over at Keen Project Solutions. Keen Project Solutions is celebrating 10 years of innovation, serving ag, industrial, and commercial customers with pride. Be part of a team that values your dedication and turns your expertise into impactful solutions. Visit thinkdifferentthinkkeen.com to apply today. And our buddies over at Raymond James, thanks to Raymond James Financial Advisors, Clay and Chase Natuzel, a family of lifelong Cyclone fans assisting clients with all their financial needs for over 32 years. With offices in Carroll, Ames, and Ankeny, you can connect with Clay and Chase Natuzel at raymondjames.com/Natuzel. All right, Chris, we got lots to talk about. Obviously, jam-packed day of Iowa State basketball, but this is Iowa State's first true Big 12 test while they're taking on Texas Tech today at 1. You know, what are your initial thoughts for this game?
Oh, tough game. Tough game for Iowa State. This is one of those. This isn't a gambling show, but you can learn a lot by odds makers generally. So I'll put it this way. Usually in a game like this, when you see if Aiden will have to confirm for me, I don't think Texas Tech is ranked.
No.
I believe they are an unranked team. When they are a favorite at home against a team that is ranked, specifically one ranked as highly as Iowa State, that is, my friends, what we call an automatic bet. You bet that every single time. Now, you're not going to win it every time, but I would say 60 to 70% of the time, you just blindly make that bet because the reason they do that, Leah, is they're setting traps for, the common fan who doesn't maybe follow this on a day-to-day basis. And they just look at that funny little number 2 next to Iowa State's name and they go, well, wait a minute. Why is that team an underdog? They are setting a trap. Vegas thinks that Texas Tech is going to win this game today. They very well could, but all I know is that the Iowa State Cyclones are a pretty darn good team as well. But that's why. I mean, I think Iowa State opened maybe as a 1-point favorite here, quickly went the other way. And that's the same thing. Like, I mean, it's another one would be Cincinnati, Kansas today, which I happen to think Kansas is going to win that game. But Kansas is only a 1-point favorite at Cincinnati. All the public people, when I say public, that means your casual college basketball fan. They see Kansas, they're ranked in the top 10. Why are they only a 1-point favorite? All they have to do is beat Cincinnati. Oh, I'm going to place my bet on that. They are setting a trap today. Vegas and all the smart money out there believes that Iowa State will lose today. So that is the kind of science behind why everybody in the world seems to be picking Texas Tech right now.
Wow, I feel like maybe I should start betting on,
No, don't.
It's a trap. Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
Don't start betting. It's not. That's why. And again, if you did bet, and you just placed bets like this every single Saturday in the exact same situations as this, you would probably win 60 to 70% of them.
Okay, so how are you telling me not to bet when you're giving me these great odds?
for one, like I think Iowa State's better than Texas Tech. So
I
like,
agree.
I wouldn't bet on it. In fact, it's up at like 3 now. You can give me 3 points in Iowa State. I would take the points, honestly.
Right.
And I happen to think that Kansas will win at Cincinnati too. So I'm falling right into the
trap.
I'm falling right into the trap. But listen, this is a good Texas Tech team that can fill it up. They have a really good home court advantage. Offensive-minded coach Bloom and I talked. If anybody listened to our podcast on Wednesday, if you didn't, we compare them a little bit to Hoiberg-type teams where they're really good offensively. They shoot the 3-ball really well. They may have the best player in the conference. Like that's what I'm anxious to watch today is Darian Williams versus Keyshawn Gilbert. I think that both of those guys have a claim to be the Big 12 Conference Player of the Year. And then they got this kid McMillan who kind of just flies under the radar, but he averages like 16 a game and is one of the best 3-point shooters in college basketball. But they don't play defense at the level that Iowa State does, and defense travels. So one key I'll give you: how is this game officiated? If this is a game where they let them play, big advantage to the Cyclones.
Perfect.
If this is a very tightly contested game where they're calling everything, that's a big advantage to the home team.
I would rather watch the first that you said because I cannot stand when I hear a ref show and then blow their whistle every other second. It makes the games really long, and then they have to review plays, and then it just gets old. And I'd rather have it go in Iowa State's favor anyway.
I would too. I would also say that these Big 12 games. It's weird because I do feel like the league is changing. When it was the round robin with 10 teams, it was just, honestly, it was like UFC fights. Like it was kind of like they were playing football out there on the basketball court. And I do wonder if that is shifting now with the 16-team league. The league isn't as physical. I don't feel like it's super early. So it's everything I'm saying right now, I reserve the right to change my mind in a month. And I'm sure when Iowa State plays Kansas on Wednesday, it's going to be a physical-ass basketball game, and I can't wait to watch it. But, I feel like there's a bit of a trend we've seen in this league over the last 5 years or so where the first halves, they just let them go.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's not many fouls called. And then it's like the refs sit there at halftime and be like, okay, we got to get control of this. We're going to have a fight. And then the second half is just whistle after whistle after whistle. That's just an observation I've made over the last couple of years. So, but again, I do think like you're two contrasting styles. Not as much for Iowa State as it has been the last 3 years, but Iowa State will fight you. They are physical. They play really intense, hard defense. Texas Tech is out there trying to score 100 points every night.
So how does Iowa State need to come out right off the rip? Obviously, it's going to be tough. It's at Texas Tech. So how are you hoping they come out?
Well, yeah, I think that this is going to be a really tight game regardless. I truly do. Even if Iowa State gets out to a 10-point lead, like we've seen this team, even as good as they are, go in these offensive lulls. We saw them do that against Utah the other night. Mm-hmm. This game's never over today because of the firepower that Texas Tech brings. And as one of our commenters is pointing out that Texas Tech's their home court advantage. I don't even really know how Ken Palm does this, but it's the number one in the country. So this is a really hard place to play. It used to not be that way. Back in the day, nobody went to Texas Tech basketball games. Now it's a big deal down there in Lubbock. It's a weird road trip, all that stuff. As you pointed out, first true road game for the Cyclones in the Big 12 Conference. So, but the other thing, though, is, I think you have to point this out, this doesn't feel like a normal team. Iowa State, to me, I feel like they're a top, like a bona fide top 5 team in the country. They will lose at some point. This is a game we all have circled as one of those possible losses. But Iowa State could theoretically only play a B game and still win this game today, depending on what they get out of Texas Tech. So, listen, this is a full 40-minute affair. That would be my big key. Don't go on that 5-minute field goal drought. If you can avoid that, then I like Iowa State's chances here. That and the officiating. Not building in an excuse or anything like. It's a fact. When you play as intense and high pressure as Iowa State does, it's a big deal when you're on the road against a good team.
I can't get past the fact that people want to go to Lubbock. No offense, but
Do you have any good Lubbock stories?
well, every time, I mean, this is different with softball because it's outside, but every time we went to Lubbock, every time you hit the ball, it would start in right field and somehow end up in left field. How is that even? Wind? Yes. How is that even possible? I'm not kidding you. Like you would be, and the ball would just.
Imagine being a golfer.
Exactly. People probably hate that.
Yeah. I always envision like, been to Lubbock a few times, and like when you step off the plane, it's like the tumbleweed.
Well, and I've seen a tumbleweed in Lubbock. Lubbock in real life. I thought that was only in the movies. It was crazy to me.
It's a real thing. It's
real
a real thing
thing.
in Lubbock. Yeah.
Just a lot of dirt. The umps always had to call the game because it would have those sand tornadoes like on home plate. Yes, that's incredible. That should not be a thing.
You should have written a book, taken notes, like the life of a college softball player.
You know, with me not playing all the time, I feel like I see a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, you got your old notepad in there.
I should have just taken notes while I was playing, and then when my number's called, you know, my helmet was always ready.
Paul Shirley, the old Iowa State basketball player, wrote a book about his travels around Europe playing basketball, and it's one of my favorite sports books. You should read it. It's probably
I'll put it
a
on the
little bit
list.
Dated now, but it's so hilarious. It's like, here's my notes on when I played in Iran. Like, it's crazy. Just stuff that you never, like, these guys never paid me. And he talks about, like, the governments of all these places. It's one of my favorite sports books.
See, that's amazing. I wouldn't be able to do that just because I only played in the United States. But we went to a lot of cool places.
Oh, yeah. But you've seen a lot.
I mean, I have seen a lot. And let me tell you, like, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, those places are crazy.
Where's
Nutty.
the worst crowd?
Oklahoma State.
Really?
Because they have like those little benches in the outfield, and they have names for each one, and the fans do research, so they knew personal information about me when I was in left field.
Do you know that they do that? My nieces they were playing in sub-state softball this year, so a game away from state, huge deal. And I parked. It was one of those places where you could park your truck in the outfield.
Yep.
And sit in your tailgate. So we did that. And these sons of bitches had researched these high school girls.
That's nutty.
They're like
That's
talking
crazy.
about their boyfriends and like their aunts, and like it's like, wow.
Yeah. No,
really,
it's
really crazy.
It's crazy, but I mean, it kind of makes the game fun, but it was hard to focus. The amount of times I wanted to turn around and like laugh. Like I thought it was funny and silly, but it kind of gets in your head a little bit too.
Well, it'll be a good one today. This is a brutal place to play. This is a bad spot, as they would say. However, if you can come away with one, this is kind of a nothing to lose game. There's not many of these when you're the number 2 team in the country. Boy, you'd sure like to win it.
Right.
But if you don't, it's not going to hurt you in the metrics. The only thing that could hurt you today is it gives you a loss when you're playing for a regular season championship in the Big 12. That's really what's on the line. This could also be a game where, because I think that if Tech is unranked now, which I believe we've come to that point, I think we think they're unranked, that they very well could be like top 15 here in a couple of weeks. We think they're that type of a basketball team. So this could look really good for you when it comes to like seeding and all that stuff. So yeah, not that it doesn't matter. I'm just saying it can't really hurt you too much what happens today. Biggest thing is just the full 40 thing, because Iowa State's they're gonna get tested today. This is not anything like they have seen thus far in the Big 12 conference. Totally different ball game today, and I've given you the keys to Iowa State. I mean, you kind of hope that they just don't shoot well too, because they're a really good shooting team, and as we have learned over the years watching Fred Hoiberg and Steve Prohm basketball, there are those days where you're in Iowa State's perimeter defenders. The two guys out there, Gilbert and Lipsey, are as good as anybody in the country when it comes to that. And that's something that Texas Tech probably hasn't seen going into today's basketball game.
It's going to be good. I'm excited.
Let's go.
And then after you watch men's game, you can tune right into the women's game.
So that is 2:30?
2:30. Well, 2:30, Chelsea and I will go live.
You guys are at 2. I knew something was at 2:30.
Yeah, and then tip off at 3.
And they are at Arizona.
Yes.
So they finish up their Arizona swing after a huge win the other night in Arizona State.
So exciting.
That was a big-time win. They absolutely had to have that one.
They did, and it was they played great, and we're hoping, Chelsea and I talked about it, that they just keep that momentum, finish off this, Arizona trip. And
with that team, a lot of negative energy within the fan base because of where they were at to start the year. A couple things. One, I don't think people truly ever factor in how young they still are.
So young. Emily's the only senior, so.
Yep. And Emily has been going through her stuff in the offseason where it feels like she's just kind of hitting her stride now. I would buy stock in them. I'm not saying they're a top 10 team like they were ranked at the beginning of the year. In fact, right now they absolutely are not. But they have, because of their youth, they have a lot of room to get better from, that South Carolina game to now. And like the reality of it in women's basketball, there's 2 or 3 teams that are so much better than everybody else. And like, I know that the UConn and South Carolina games were painful. I experienced them with you guys. There's not a team in the Big 12 that is anywhere on that level.
Right.
So if this team kind of hits its stride and starts hitting some shots, they can still win the conference. I truly, truly believe that with this Iowa State women's team. We saw them. Utah might be the best team in the conference. They're right up there. And man, Iowa State was better than them for 35 minutes the other night.
Yeah.
So
it's good.
Let's
it's
go.
Exciting. Let's
Buy
go.
my stock. Buy my stock in the ladies. Let's go. Oh, new Tame and Lipsy
Love
Floor
it.
General t-shirt as well. Cyclone Fanatic shop. Check
Period.
it out.
Way to go.
Right. Thanks, Leah. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Look forward to you and Chelsea. And then Rob Gray and I will be on here because we're all going to be overlapping. Rob Gray and I will do post-game for the men, hopefully talking about a big victory.